All right, welcome back. In our previous video, we started one of our assembly operations by putting our top together, but we're not quite done with all of our kind of modification cuts. We still have to finish our legs, so we're gonna start on that. Okay, so on the handout for the legs, you'll see that we are going to be putting two 2-inch by 15.25-inch pieces together to make that one leg with that 90-degree angle in it. Okay, as of now, they have all been identical. They're just, 8 boards, 2 by 15.25. Eventually, they will be a left and a right. There'll be a dado on the bottom with a bevel to the right of it, and then a dado to the bottom with a bevel to the left. So we'll get there. The first thing we're going to do is the dado, and the dado will make these will still all be the same with the dado, so we're not going to worry about lefts and right quite yet. Just on one, we're going to mark where the dado is. So that boxy C shape, that should ring a bell from the step stool, but we're only going to do it once, and then once we set the machine to make that one, we'll send the rest through to match it. So unlike the step stool, we don't have to do it too many times. Looking down here, you'll see that the top of the dado is 3 inches, and then we would go down 3/4 of an inch, so that would make it 2 1/4. Okay, now I'm just gonna make it 2 little lines. If you wanted to make the boxy C shape, you can. It's at 1/4 of an inch down, but to be honest, where you should be setting that is on the table saw itself, and I'll show you that right now. So let's bring all these over. Let's see, got everything we need here. Now, again, for just drawing the 2 vertical lines, what you're going to want to do is when you get the dado blades set up, I'll move the guard while it's not running, just so you can kind of see what we're working with. The boxy part of this would have been the height of the dado blade. So, instead of making that mark and trying to line up to the height of the mark, which wouldn't be very accurate, the most accurate thing you could do is set it. What you would do is you'd take a ruler and you would check the height. Hopefully you can see that. Check the height to 1/4 of an inch, and that would get you in the ballpark, but then the real check is right here. Hopefully move the angle a little bit so you can see it. Checking on a piece of scrap that the depth is the best way of doing it. Okay, and the second thing you want to check is the width. So that blade is a stack of blades, and it actually has some of these spacers of varying thicknesses in between to get to a desired thickness. And so, this is a piece of oak that we're going to use for our plywood bottom, and I can check it, and I can see that it fits nice. You don't want it to be too tight, hammer on tight, because you're going to have 8 dados, 1 on each leg, the 2 legs come together, but there's still 8 dados, and that plywood has to line up with all of them, and your legs are going to have 2 dados glued together, and if they're off just slightly, you're going to have a tough time. So this actually fits really good. There's a touch of wiggle in there. So to me, I wouldn't want to get any snugger than that. You kind of see how it just kind of goes on there like a puzzle piece. There's a touch of wiggle there, but that's good. So too tight, like hammer-on fit, you're going to have a heck of a time when you get to assembly. Too loose, and then you get big air gaps, and they don't look good. So anyway, so now we're going to go back to this setup. I've already set this one up with that cut, so we know we're good. Okay, we have our miter gauge set to 0, so it's not like basic where we had 8 degrees to the left or right. We want to be 0 this time. Okay, and then as far as the fence adjustment, I'm going by our pencil lines. Not sure if you can see what I see, but we're pretty darn close. Maybe a touch over. That's good. The most important thing is consistency. You want all of your legs to be exactly the same length so your dados all hit exactly the same spot. So as long, you know, when we start, we're definitely not going to adjust the fence. If you start making your dados for your legs, don't stop when you hear the bell or when I yell clean up. Get all this done, because if anybody moves this fence on you and you just have to re-eyeball it up with your pencil lines or something, it's never going to be perfect twice. So our height's good, the thickness of our dado's good, our alignment's good. We're going to make all 8 of these right now before anything changes. So grip, got my thumbs here, some fingers up top, some fingers up front. Good pressure against the fence, good pressure against the table, good pressure against the miter gauge. That's maybe a little on the snug side, but I'll make it work. So I'll cut it there. Obviously, I'm going to do the last 6. The next step will be to take that table saw blade, tip it all the way 45 degrees, and then we're going to put those 45-degree bevels on our legs, and that is where we start making left halves and right halves. So far everything's been symmetrical. That's going to change next.